The night wind whispered through the trees, rustling the leaves as if they shared an ancient secret. Ryokan's cabin, nestled on the mountainside, remained still. There were no locks or heavy doors, just the soft light of a candle illuminating the interior. The monk, wrapped in his simple robe, meditated in silence, gazing at the vastness of the night. His life was simple: a straw mat, a clay bowl, a pair of worn sandals. He possessed nothing, and because of that, he possessed everything. In the dense forest, shadows moved quietly. A figure slipped toward the cabin. A thief, his eyes, accustomed to the darkness, scanned the room. He was looking for something valuable, something he could steal. But all he found was emptiness. The thief frowned. He had heard that monks sometimes hid riches donated by travelers. But here, there was nothing but a life stripped of all excess. And then the monk opened his eyes. "Are you looking for something?" Ryokan asked, his voice calm. The thief jumped. He hadn't expected the old man to be awake. The thief stepped back, his hand still gripping the hilt of his dagger. He expected shouts, resistance, perhaps pleas. But the monk merely looked at him with an expression of sincere curiosity, as though observing the natural course of a stream descending the mountain. "I have nothing to steal," Ryokan said with a gentle smile. "But I don't want you to leave empty-handed." The thief frowned. Was it a trap? His instincts told him to be wary. Calmly, the monk stood up and, without hurry, removed his linen robe, his only protection against the cold night. Then, with a natural gesture, he extended it toward the thief. "Take it," he said softly. "It's all I have." The thief stared at him, stunned. No one had ever offered him anything before, and certainly not with such tranquility. His mind, accustomed to fighting and deception, couldn't comprehend this act of absolute giving. For a moment, only the sound of the wind shaking the branches could be heard. Then, without a word, the thief turned on his heel and fled, his shadow vanishing into the night. Ryokan remained standing at the entrance of his cabin, watching the thief's shadow disappear among the trees. He felt no anger or fear, only a deep compassion. The cold embraced his bare skin, but he did not move immediately. He lifted his gaze to the night sky, where the moon shone with its serene light. His lips curled into a slight smile. "Poor man," he murmured. "I wish I could give him this beautiful moon as well." The wind seemed to answer, whispering through the leaves. Ryokan felt the vastness of existence surrounding him, as though the night itself had taken him in its embrace. With calm steps, he returned to the cabin. He sat on his mat and embraced the stillness around him. Inside his heart, peace remained intact, unaltered like the moon's reflection on a lake. In the distance, the thief ran, his mind stirred by confusion. No one had ever offered him anything without fear or resistance before. His hands, used to taking, now felt strange, as if carrying the monk's robe was a weight heavier than any stolen treasure. The thief kept running until his breath failed him, and his legs refused to move. He stopped at the edge of the forest, panting, the monk's robe still in his hands. He forced himself to look at the piece of fabric he now possessed. It was not luxurious nor valuable, nor something he could sell for a good sum. It was just a humble garment, light as the wind, simple as life itself. But it weighed. It weighed on his conscience in a way he couldn't understand. There were no guards chasing him, no punishment waiting for him, yet his chest felt tight with an unknown sensation. He looked at the sky and saw the moon, so clear, so unreachable. Suddenly, he remembered the monk's words. "I wish I could give him this beautiful moon as well." The thief frowned. What did that mean? Was he mocking him? It didn't make sense. And yet, Ryokan's serene voice continued to echo in his mind, like the sound of a river in the mountains. He sat on a rock, still holding the robe. The night wind brushed his face, cold, relentless. For the first time in a long while, he felt the need to be silent, to listen to something beyond his own thoughts. The thief remained still, the robe between his fingers, feeling its rough texture, light yet substantial. He couldn't understand why it was impossible to simply discard it and continue with his life. Something inside him stirred, like a river thawing after a long winter. He forced himself to remember the monk's gaze. It wasn't the gaze of someone defeated, nor of someone afraid. It was the gaze of someone who possessed something that he, despite all his years of theft and running, had never attained. Peace. The thief closed his eyes. Inside him, a question arose like a whisper. Who has given, and who has received tonight? The wind continued dancing among the trees. The moon continued shining over the mountains. The whole world seemed indifferent to his confusion, and yet, for the first time, he felt that he was part of it. The idea of returning struck him like lightning. He didn't know if it was impulse, instinct, or something deeper, but before he could stop himself, he was already standing, the robe carefully folded in his hands. He took a deep breath and began walking back. The thief moved along the shadowy path, the echo of his own steps his only company. With each step, his mind debated between doubt and a strange certainty he couldn't explain. When the cabin appeared among the trees, the candle inside still flickering weakly, Ryokan was there, sitting on the ground, gazing at the night sky as though waiting for the wind to arrive or a leaf to fall. The thief stopped a few meters away. He looked at the robe in his hands, then at the monk. He didn't know what to say. Ryokan calmly turned his head and gave him a serene smile. "You've returned," he said, without the slightest hint of surprise. The thief swallowed hard. His voice, rough from years of wandering, was barely a whisper. "I don't understand." The monk tilted his head slightly. "What is it that you don't understand?" The thief clenched his fists. He felt a whirlwind of unknown emotions inside. Finally, he extended the robe with both hands. "I can't take this. It's not mine." Ryokan observed the gesture, then looked at the moon shining above them. "Nothing is really ours," he murmured. "Not even our own thoughts." The thief frowned. "Then why did you give it to me?" The monk smiled. "Because at that moment, the only thing I could offer you was the nakedness of my body. And now, the only thing I can offer you is the nakedness of my heart." The thief felt a shiver run down his spine. No one had ever spoken to him in such a way, with a transparency that demanded nothing, that judged nothing. He looked at the robe in his hands. In another time, he would have felt contempt for something so insignificant. Now it felt like a weight he couldn't carry or abandon. "I don't know what to do," he confessed in a low voice. Ryokan nodded gently, as if that response were not a defeat, but a beginning. "Then, if you don't know, just sit down," he said, pointing to a spot beside him. The thief hesitated. His instincts screamed at him to leave, that none of this made sense. But his feet did not move, and, without realizing it, he ended up bowing his head and letting himself fall to the cold ground. Silence settled between them. The thief, accustomed to the noise of urgency, to the need to always be on the move, felt for the first time what it was like to be still without fear. The moon shone with the same clarity as before, but something in him had changed. "What do you see in the moon?" he asked after a long while. Ryokan smiled. "Nothing that belongs to me, and yet everything that I am." The thief frowned but said nothing. Inside, something resembling understanding began to emerge, like the first light of dawn over the mountains. The thief fixed his gaze on the moon, trying to see it as Ryokan saw it. But the more he tried, the more its meaning slipped away from him. "I don't understand," he murmured. Ryokan let out a soft laugh, like the sound of the wind through the leaves. "There's nothing to understand," he replied. "Just observe." The thief forced himself to be silent and simply look. The sky was vast, the air cold, and the moon's light bathed the world indiscriminately. It did not choose who to illuminate. It asked for nothing in return. It just was. The thief felt his mind, always restless, always clinging to something, loosen for a moment. It wasn't much, but it was enough. "My whole life, I've taken things from others," he whispered. "And now that someone has given me something, I don't know what to do with it." Ryokan nodded, as if those words didn't need a response. "Maybe you never stole anything," he said softly. "Maybe you were just searching for something you never found." The thief fell silent. He had never thought of it that way. The night advanced, and the breeze grew colder. But inside, something akin to warmth began to emerge. The thief lowered his gaze, his thoughts tangled like the branches of an old tree. For years, he had believed the world was just a game of survival, where one took before it was taken from them. But now, sitting next to that monk with nothing, he felt that there was something beyond that endless struggle. "If I never stole anything," he whispered, "then what have I been searching for?" Ryokan closed his eyes for a moment, as though feeling the question before responding. "Maybe you were searching for the same thing as everyone," he finally said. "Something that neither gold nor possessions can give." The thief clenched the robe between his fingers. He had never had anything of his own, and now, in an ironic twist, the only thing he had truly been given had no value in the world. But then, why did it feel like that garment weighed more than any treasure? The monk looked at the moon again. "If you want, you can stay here tonight. There's not much, but the ground is soft, and the moon is generous." The thief hesitated. Part of him wanted to reject the offer, to disappear into the night as he had always done. But another part, a small voice inside him, whispered something different, and for the first time in his life, he decided to listen to it. He settled onto the ground, the robe still in his hands, and let the silence envelop him. The moon rose higher in the sky, bathing the cabin and the small figures of the two men sitting in the darkness. The thief no longer felt like an outsider, nor like someone who had to flee. Time passed slowly, but in a way he had never experienced before. Each moment seemed to have a clarity that was foreign to him. He was no longer trapped in his anxiety, in his old habits. The night surrounded him like an invisible embrace, without expectations, without demands. Ryokan remained silent, without forcing words. His presence was enough, like the moon that illuminated without needing to ask for permission. The thief, now seated in his calm, began to understand something that, throughout his life, had always eluded him. In that moment, with the moonlight reflected on the ground and the soft whisper of the wind, he understood that what he had always sought was not an object, nor a possession. It was the peace of acceptance, the freedom of letting go of what he could not possess. Finally, the thief smiled, a gesture that had never been his before. His heart had lightened, as if he had let go of an invisible weight he hadn't known he was carrying. The monk looked at the sky, then at the thief, and his eyes shone with the same serenity as the moon. There were no more questions, no more answers, only the peace that arises from the simplest gestures. And, in silence, both looked at the moon,